The phrase Red Letter Day goes all the way back to early Rome. Ancient calendars showed that certain important dates were written in red. Harvests, feasts, toga parties, or whatever else those wild and crazy Romans were up to. Medieval churches continue to practice by highlighting holy days in red on their calendars. And even today, Sundays and holidays are often marked with red ink. Now, the reason we bring all this up is because today marks a red letter day for us. This is our 52nd episode of this podcast. And by the time we finish here today, it will mean that we have been attempting to solve life's little mysteries every week for 1 full year. So whether you're a faithful listener, drop in occasionally, or were totally betrayed by your algorithm.
No! I didn't mean to press that!
We are glad you're here for this Red Letter Day. So for the 52nd time, welcome to the podcast that answers some of the questions you've always wondered about.
It's the Always Wondered podcast.
Hi, I'm Rick Peterson. Thanks for joining us. Surveys show that chocolate chip cookies are the favorite cookie amongst Americans. It's estimated that we gobble down 7 billion chocolate chip cookies annually. That works out to about 21 cookies per person per year. Now, personally, I could polish off 21 in one sitting, let alone in 1 year, but hey, that's just me. So, have you always wondered the origin of the chocolate chip cookie? We traveled back to the 1930s. Aprons are crisp, butter is plentiful, the Great Depression is, well, depressing. But in a cozy roadside inn called the Toll House between Boston and Cape Cod, history is about to get delicious. Ruth Wakefield set out to make chocolate cookies to serve her guests when she realized,
oh dear,
she was out of baker's chocolate. Now, most of us would say,
well, I guess that's that.
And then proceed to eat spoonfuls of sugar while staring into the void. But not Ruth. Instead, she grabbed a bar of Nestle's semi-sweet chocolate, chopped it into chunks, and tossed it into the dough, assuring herself
it'll melt.
But it didn't. Instead of melting into the dough, the chocolate softened. It held its shape and created tiny pockets of molten joy. And just like that, the chocolate chip cookie was born. Now, there is some speculation as to whether Ruth's actions were more intentional than accidental. But regardless, the Toll House cookie, as it was originally known, became a hit. Nestle noticed, soon began marketing packs of chocolate morsels, and worked a deal with Ruth to put her recipe on the packaging. And today, the chocolate chip cookie has become the diplomatic ambassador of baked goods. You bring cookies to apologize,
I'm sorry,
to celebrate,
Congratulations.
and to say,
Yeah, I didn't know what else to bring.
it's a multi-billion-dollar-a-year industry, and we owe it all to Ruth Wakefield. Oh, and what did Ruth receive in exchange from Nestle? Royalties? A seat on the board of directors? Maybe a yacht in the shape of a chocolate chip? Nope. What she received was a lifetime supply of chocolate. And honestly, that's not such a bad deal.
It's the Always Wondered podcast.
There are large groups of people who remember when something happened. They saw it, they heard it, they swear by it. But it turns out that's not the way it was. It's called the Mandela Effect. It's eerie, it's unnerving, and
It's basically like hitting the universe's undo button.
so have you always wondered what causes the Mandela Effect? The name was coined after many people insisted that political figure Nelson Mandela died while in prison. Except he didn't. Yeah, he was eventually released, became president of South Africa, and lived well into his 90s.
Seriously?
Yep, and there are plenty of other examples too. Like a successful series of children's books about a family of bears that became a popular animated TV series in the 80s.
Oh, I remember that. It was the Berenstein Bears.
But it was never Berenstein, it was always Berenstain.
Wait, what?
Or despite what many people believe, the Monopoly Man never wore a monocle.
I'm so confused. It's like my entire childhood was a lie.
Or the iconic line Darth Vader said to Luke Skywalker.
Ahem. I'll gladly handle this one. After all, I've been attending Comic-Cons for more than 3 decades, dressed as Darth Vader.
Be my guest.
Luke, I am your father.
Close, but the actual line was,
No, I am your father.
Wait a minute. So you're telling me I've been doing it wrong at conventions for the past 30 years?
Yep, afraid so.
No wonder I could never get a date.
Sure, we'll go with that. So what exactly is happening here? Well, believers have a few theories. One is that we somehow slipped from one timeline into another, kind of like cosmic channel surfing. Others say we're living in a simulation and there was a software glitch. While others contend that time travelers went back in time to fix something, and in the process accidentally changed a few things, like the spelling of a children's book.
Mission accomplished. Also, minor bear typo. Oops.
But scientists, they have a completely different theory.
Basically, the human mind is like a Wikipedia page that anyone can edit, including your half-asleep imagination.
So even though Captain Kirk never said, "Beam me up, Scotty," Curious George never had a tail,
What?
and there's no such thing as Jiffy peanut butter,
Whoa.
our collective brains don't sweat the details and simply say,
Close enough.
so chalk up the Mandela Effect to faulty memory banks. However, if later you do remember us saying something totally brilliant that we didn't actually say, then hey, we're believers too.
They Always Wondered podcast.
If you've ever worked overnights, you know it can be lonely, silent, and despite generous doses of caffeine, kind of creepy. Which brings us to our question. Have you always wondered where the term graveyard shift comes from? Well, let's start back in the 1800s, when people were terrified of being buried alive. Medical science wasn't exactly running on high-definition heart monitors. Sometimes doctors basically went,
He's not moving. Probably dead. Sounds good. Let's get lunch.
Yep, and into the ground you would go. So some enterprising mortuaries offered safety coffins. Some had tubes for air, some had flags, and some had bells attached to a string tied to the dearly departed's hand. And if you woke up in the coffin, you'd pull the string and a bell would ring above ground. But get this, some cemeteries reportedly hired night watchmen. Their job? To listen for bells.
That sounds like the single worst LinkedIn job posting in history.
I mean, can you imagine?
Well, that's either the wind or Gerald is back.
But despite how terrifyingly perfect that story sounds, most historians say there is no solid evidence that graveyard shift came directly from bell monitoring cemetery employees. The phrase wouldn't appear in print until the early 1900s, after the buried alive fear had subsided, showing up in places like factories, railroads, and newspaper offices. So the term most likely grew out of the vibe. Because in the middle of the night, it's very easy to think,
Man, this place is dead.
yep, just like a graveyard. So the next time you're working the graveyard shift at a hospital, on a cleaning crew, or editing a podcast at 2:17 in the morning, and you hear a faint bell ding, it's probably just your phone. But if not, maybe it's time to clock out.
They Always Wondered podcast.
Well, that wraps up this episode of Always Wondered, and we did it. We officially made it 1 full year. And like any 1-year-old, we have spent the last year falling flat on our face, knocking things off of shelves, and occasionally sticking fingers into sockets to see what would happen. But through it all, you have stuck with us. And we appreciate you listening each week, subscribing, reviewing, and sharing this podcast with friends and family. It truly means a lot. And be prepared, because from this point forward, things are really going to get broken. We might climb a few dressers, and you're in for some real spaghetti on the wall moments. In fact, you might want to baby-proof your device just to be on the safe side. All right. As always, we leave you with one to ponder. Have you always wondered why we have A batteries, AA, AAA, C, and Ds, but no B? I mean, what happened? Well, I think we just found the topic for a future episode. So, until next time, stay curious and keep wondering. I'm Rick Peterson. Thanks for listening.
The Always Wondered podcast.
If you like what you hear, please subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, and a review. Listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Feel free to offer suggestions for future topics, or simply reach out to alwayswonderedpodcast@gmail.com.